What up, guys and girls? It's Bobby.
And Sean.
Come back to you guys for another week's episode of the Cronus Cast. Apologies for the delay in getting episodes out to you guys. As you know, both Sean and I, super busy guys. So apologies for the delay in content, but we're back to our regularly scheduled programming. Today's episode brought to you guys by Paragon Recovery. Use the code Cronus for 15% off. And I believe they're having a Labor Day sale this weekend too. So make sure you hit them up and get them up. Hit them up for your recovery needs.
Hell yeah. Bobby, what have you been up to this week? Oh, allergies. Oh, here comes the sneeze.
Nope.
All right, we're good. We're good. Bobby, what have you been up to?
Just been kind of busy with work. Last weekend, I think I was working last weekend. The weekend before that, I was also working. This weekend I've been off. It's been nice. Haven't really been doing too much. So it's nice to kind of chill out, get some sleep, and catch up on some sleep.
Dude, I can't imagine what it must be like. I feel like we talk about this every time, but being in a hospital, having to do surgeries, and then contend with all of the COVID stuff that's going on. Did we talk about the 94%, 6% CDC report that has been somewhat misquoted when we look at the mortality rates and deaths?
We have not.
Have you read that? Do you have a hot take on that?
I mean, like, sure that you can, like, was it like the 6% are solely attributed to COVID, and 94% have like other comorbidities or other conditions associated with it.
Yeah, well, I think like there was a QAnon or Quanon. I don't know what the
QAnon
website was, and that's been like apparently it's a propaganda, like a Chinese hoax or something was like one of the other reports on it, but it misquoted the CDC by saying that only 6% of all fatalities were a direct result of COVID and no other underlying conditions. And I think, in fact, the CDC essentially just said of all of the deaths from COVID, only, or instead of saying that, 94% listed a secondary issue that the person might have had that contributed to it. And then the individuals took that statistic to mean that COVID had only killed, 6% of those that were infected. So it was kind of like they were stretching some of the truth from the stat. But I still think at the end of the day, it's still creating a pretty transparent issue with underlying conditions and then flu season and how every single year, what percentage of people are actually dying from the actual disease versus or the flu, or, some underlying condition that, they've been unhealthy for a significant amount of time.
Yeah, but I think that's, it depends on how you want to interpret the statistic because, pretty much everybody has some sort of health condition at a certain point in time. Like everybody's going to have something going on. It really depends on how the hospital EMR, the hospital records kind of code your diagnoses and health conditions. So like, I mean, technically I could probably have a comorbid condition of like seasonal allergies if they wanted to code it that way.
Sure.
But at the same point, is the point that I think it makes that, by getting COVID, you might be healthy or in like a, healthy balance, but then getting COVID or getting the flu pushes you over and then your body just isn't able to deal with that insult, which I still think, is still a valid consideration. Because, otherwise, like if you didn't catch the disease, you'd probably still be healthy. Quote unquote.
Yeah, quote unquote healthy. I've got asthma, and I know if I were to kick the bucket, that would be listed and people were like, oh, well, clearly unhealthy. But I think it goes to a larger point when you mentioned probably almost everyone has some sort of an underlying condition. What was the scientific term you used, doctor?
What did I say? Like I said COVID was an insult, but I didn't say...
No, the
comorbid conditions.
Yes, thank you. All right, you guys can Google how to spell that. I'm not going to do that. But with an incredibly with somewhat of an aging population now, with our boomers, with the fact that obesity has taken off, I feel like at least 40% of the country, since we're 40% obese, at a minimum, when you look at obesity, has some issue now that's just going to make every flu season that much more deadly. And like, I'm fearful that every single season now we're going to be wearing masks. Like, is this going to be a normal thing?
Yeah, I could see that. I mean, masks are kind of a normal thing in most of the world. Like all of Asia, people wear masks in public during flu and cold when it gets cold outside, just out of kind of common decency and respect for the people when they're not feeling well because they don't want to transmit, I don't know, like the cold to somebody else during public
Sure.
transportation. So I think there's an aspect that's like probably not a bad idea to have more to be that having more of a common like helping other people and trying to be preventing the spread of like the cold and flu and other less severe illnesses. But sometimes though, it's just like people are going to be inherently selfish regardless, as you can see. And American culture is inherently selfish.
For sure. I mean, hell, I don't always wear my mask. If I'm not inside of a building, if I'm outdoors and I'm not in like a crowded like Central Park area, I'm not going to have my mask on. But I will say I would be much more inclined to wear my mask if this whole event was happening, say, in the later fall, early winter, as just a way to keep my face warm. Again, that's a really selfish way to look at it. But at some point, I feel like Americans are just getting like really tired of wearing masks. And I wonder if that has to do with just being so hot, literally hot from wearing that on their face, or if they're just like, listen, I'm thinking that this isn't as bad as people are making it out, but I can't wear a mask anymore. I mean, like, what are your general feelings on the American population's, adherence to CDC guidance now? Do you think it's been, you know, uh, somewhat destroyed by politics, or do you think that people in general want to still do the right thing?
I think I think it's like half and half. I think people are still it's kind of like politicized almost wearing masks, and it's like an infringement of my liberties, my rights, my
Oh,
rights.
oh, no, you didn't, Bobby. Not my rights. You can't take away my 14th, 15th, 16th, Second Amendment right, bear arms, right? That's what it means.
Yeah, can't infringe my rights to my liberties to not wear masks anyway. But it's just like I just roll my eyes because it's like um, at the end of the day, you putting on a mask, it doesn't really inconvenience you by any means.
Sure.
And it's like it might be a little bit uncomfortable, but at this point, like I don't even notice if I have it on and don't have it on. Like in the OR, if we're in the OR, I wear a mask anyways, and wear a mask for like 8 hours a day if in the OR, if I'm in the OR that long. Doesn't
Yeah.
doesn't really bother me.
Hey, have you gotten, like any more 7 p.m. Celebrations still, going on out there on the West Coast?
I don't think we ever had them out here. I think that was like a New York City thing.
Oh my God, do you hear that, America? Looks like the state of Washington does not, one, celebrate our veterans or our veteran doctors. It's unbelievable. When's the last time you were thanked for your service?
I actually don't know. That's a good question.
Unbelievable. That this timeline just does not compute for me. I mean, it's why every other day I wear a shirt that says like, OEF or OFS for, the newer generation.
You should
Not
just get
getting
the.
thanked.
You should wear like you should go in those Afghanistan bed hats and just wear
I
them
wanted to.
unironically.
So when I was getting out, I actually went to the PX and I could not find one that was just like that annoying vet enough of a hat. Like they were not that the trucker style. They're just like the baseball cap, like a dad cap. And I was like, this is not worth it. Um, but I would absolutely wear that, like ironically, around the city, because you see a ton of people wearing like vet hats sometimes, and you just look at them like, I don't think no, I don't think that's a vet. But regardless, Washington, if you're out there, thank Dr. Bobby here. Like this is just unreal. The 7 o'clock thing here in the city has gone down significantly since I
100%.
first,
Yeah.
I want to say like April, May. It was crazy. 7 o'clock, there were blowhorns. There were those fofuzilas. I think they're the thing from the South African World Cup where
Mm-hmm.
you blow and it makes
What
this
was
like cricket
yeah.
sound. Yeah, like people would have those. Now it's pots and pans. I mean, you might have like 10 people on every block now that do the celebration at 7 p.m., but it's like nobody cares anymore.
Yeah. There's a classic modern society where the attention span is like a week.
Speaking of attention span, Mulan came out this last Friday. I have yet to see it.
I haven't seen it yet.
You have to upgrade to Disney Pro or Disney Plus to even be able to watch it.
I
I
downloaded it. I haven't watched it.
Oh my god, downloading it, unbelievable. You're doing the right thing though. I want to watch it, but I've read some reviews and now I'm
Yeah, the
afraid to watch
reviews.
it.
Yeah, the reviews are pretty bad.
Pretty bad. Like what I agree with one of them was, did Disney think that American audiences couldn't sit there and like read subtitle? I almost think that this is a movie that should have been subtitled.
Uh,
I just think it misses, like, it's like when you watch what was that Matt Damon movie with Pedro Pascal?
oh,
Was it
Great
called The
Wall.
Great Wall?
Great
Yeah,
Wall.
like that
Great
that
movie.
just seemed really like white savior. Like, if it had been, because I think it was a Chinese film that they casted Matt Damon and Pedro
Hmm.
Pascal for, but it's like, if it had been in Chinese, I think that would have been like a way cooler, like more authentic feel instead of this like we want it to be in both markets and successful. Like it just doesn't look right. But I want to see Mulan. I love that kind of like film, the fighting. I'm scared to watch it because I didn't watch it opening night and it's got some shit reviews.
Yeah, Christina and I, instead of watching Mulan, we started rewatching The Sopranos again.
Oh, you're not living in Jersey anymore, man.
I
Like get a
miss.
new.
I love The
I started watching
Sopranos.
The Boys. Did you watch season 2 of The Boys yet?
I haven't watched it. I don't. I'm not. I haven't gotten into it. I haven't tried it.
It's pretty good. I like it because it's violent. Um, but yeah, all right, we're rambling. Injuries. We've been like teeing this up now for a couple of weeks. We've gotten a lot of questions about what it's like coming back from injury, getting back to full peak performance, how you can listen to your body. And while many of you know I'm the expert when it comes to physical health, I think it would be best if we had Dr. Bobby give us some insight on the actual, physical mechanics of your body and what going through an injury, responding to an injury, and getting back to fitness looks like. So, doctor?
Yeah. So I think the first step or the first thing you need to take into account when dealing with injuries is injury prevention. So that's why we always talk about like active recovery days, like stretching and listening to your body, getting good sleep, making sure you're getting good nutrition, good sleep, and being able to recover after sessions. I think that a lot of overuse injuries, like guys talk about shin splints and like all these like stress injuries, and like what can I do better? And it's like it's like beating a dead horse at this point. I feel like with the um, like shin splints and like stuff like that. It's just like you know I think it's very important to pay attention to your body and kind of feel what your body's doing, and then whether that's strengthening some things, stretching certain things, or changing up your technique or your form, pay attention to what things are making it worse, what's making it better, and kind of work from there.
Would you recommend that if someone had an injury that required surgery, not like a life threatening surgery, but like an ACL, a labrum, would you recommend if they had the opportunity to push that surgery like a month, month and a half to do maybe some supplemental PT to strengthen that body part would be best, or get the surgery and recover from there?
So it depends on the injury and the what is going on. I think I saw some like study that examined knee like meniscal injuries and like surgery versus like non-surgery for meniscus. I think it was like in Europe they did this study, but pretty much they showed that surgery did not improve symptoms of knee pain for meniscus injuries when compared with like sham surgeries that didn't actually fix the meniscus.
Hmm.
So it's kind of interesting because that's kind of like the first line that people would jump to if they have meniscus tear and meniscus injury. They pretty much go for surgery to fix that meniscus. But this study it seems to indicate that going into surgery might not actually address the pain and symptoms. So I think a lot of the time when it comes to like injuries, assuming like you didn't break a bone or like lose, like if you blow out your knee, you blow out your ACL, those are like pretty severe injuries that we know probably won't heal themselves. But we have like some other like maybe like some sprains or strains or nothing that's like super acute that can still function. I would probably try and just keep working it out. Like in college, I like dislocated my shoulder pretty
Oh,
badly, and then I never got surgery on it. I just kind of stretched it out and strengthened like the rotator cuff around the injury. And I never got surgery on my shoulder, but I'm pretty sure like I tore my labrum or did something to it because it still like clicks. It's kind of funky still, but I can still work with it, and it's still pretty functional now. But I don't know what it would be like if I got surgery on it, if that would have affected like the mobility and strength of my shoulder if I had surgery on it.
yeah.
But it's something to be keep in mind of that like a lot of soft tissue damage or soft tissue injuries you can probably work around with and strengthen the surrounding areas to like overcome some maybe structural, maybe just some um, yeah, strength issues.
Dude, I tore my labrum, and I almost thought about not getting surgery on it because I pulled it apart in, what was it, two places to make three parts, and or no, three places. And for the entire summer, uh, when I had originally gotten like an X-ray and an MRI, they didn't see any tear. And I took those same pictures to an orthopedic surgeon who's like, no, your labrum's just shot. You need to get surgery. But I'd been doing some PT, and if it hadn't been for the fact that, the doctor was pretty adamant you have to get surgery, I think I would have foregone that option, and it would have just been like a more difficult recovery. Like, did you feel like when you dislocated your shoulder, like there was like it just doesn't feel completely in, and then, potentially with that labrum tear, like, that front up towards the pec and the bicep just weren't completely connected?
I didn't think it felt like super. It just felt like kind of off and like didn't feel like super comfortable. Like I
Yeah.
had like issues like raising it overhead and some other movements, but then I kind of like did a lot of the shoulder prehab exercises that you normally do for like rotator cuff injuries, and then over time it just got better over time. I just never really had issues with it.
My labrum I tore in 2008, and it took me probably 6 months to get back to where I was pre-tear. Um, it took like a lot of, I wouldn't say maturity on my part, which I was lacking at that age, especially when it came to listening to my body, because I was in college. I wanted to look like, upper body jacked, in order to impress people, my friends. And then when I couldn't lift anything with my left arm or my left side, I was like, all right, I don't want to overtrain the right side of my body. At which point I wish I had picked up training legs. Like that would have been a great opportunity to start. And I'm mad. I'm forever mad that I didn't lift legs in college. But it sucked getting back into it and not having like a dedicated either coach or doctor on call to be like, is this the right feeling I'm supposed to have? Because I went to do physical therapy, and the physical therapist was, I mean, it was essentially like, we're just going to get you back to being able to live. And,
Right.
and that sounds like super dramatic, but just day-to-day operations. I feel like unless you are a D1 athlete or potentially in like a soft unit, they're never going to get you back when it comes to PT to try to go towards peak fitness. It's always just, I just want you to leave here and have regular mobility. That's like the goal. It's like I want to train for more than just regular mobility. Like that's what was really frustrating between that and then my second surgery, where like the PT was essentially the same thing. Like, we're just gonna have you practice like just doing normal shit, like turning a doorknob. Like, that's not what I want. Like, I want to get back to cleaning.
Yeah, that's the thing with like the kind of healthcare professionals is like everybody has certain agendas and everybody has certain goals that comes with your care, and they might not align with what you want done. For example, like with the orthopedic surgeon, like that's saying like if you're a hammer, everything else becomes a nail. It's like if that's all you do and that's all you see, you see like a labrum injury, they just will say, oh, you have a labrum injury that this needs surgery, and we're going to do surgery to fix it. But they might not actually benefit you or actually improve your symptoms. And same
Yeah.
thing like physical therapy. Physical therapy, their goal isn't necessarily to make you like back to Olympic caliber athlete. Their goal is to kind of make you improve your pain and symptoms so that you can go live your own life without,
It was super frustrating because around the same time, Chad Johnson, aka Chad Ochocinco, had torn his labrum, and like a month later was catching passes
hmm
because he had his surgery. And I'm sitting there going, what am I doing differently that this individual is not doing? Or, and I went to go see my PT and was like, okay, what exercises should I be doing to strengthen these muscles? Because if he's going out there and hitting the ground and catching balls, and I'm sitting here still being able to, barely do a curl with my left arm. Clearly, one of us was on a fast track. One of us definitely had the musculature before the injury, that being the NFL athlete that I didn't have. But like, what could I have done before that injury? And I think you mentioned it kind of at the top of the topic, you know, preventative stuff before you get injured, doing the stretching, the strengthening, being, kind of functionally fit across all realms so that when an injury does hit one portion of your body, it doesn't like completely cripple you. That's, that was something that was really frustrating for me.
Yeah, it's hard too because like I mean, unless you're in that space or like kind of know like the data or like the kind of the biomechanics of the stuff, you don't really know like what people are telling you if it makes sense or not.
Right.
And you can't really decipher the data or decipher the information that people are telling you, and that's kind of the hard part. And that's why it needs you like. I recommend getting like second opinions too and talking to different people about injuries.
Yeah, when I dislocated my wrist, broke part of it, and then like crushed the bones in the base of my hand, the docs were like, "Oh, you're not cleaning, you're not bench pressing, you're not doing push-ups, like you're not going to be able to grip a bar." And I'm sitting there like, "Okay, this isn't my first rodeo with a surgery.
Mm,
I feel like I understand my body now to a relative degree that if you're telling me this is the surgery that you're going to do, I can still do these general movements based on like my limited understanding of body mechanics. And because of that, I want to like really work back to getting, just some of that mobility back." And if you're listening to this, you can't see, but I'm making like a goofy looking hand, signature because I can't move my left hand. But like at least doing that and having some background in fitness because of Cronus Fit, it helped me recover significantly where like I was holding more weight in my hand. I could do some basic movements that I never thought I was going to be able to do again based on what the docs were saying. But it goes back to these docs don't have a background in lifting or, functional fitness. So when they say, you can't do anything, it's like you got to take that with a grain of salt sometimes.
yeah, and that's like when it came to because I had a meniscus injury in college too, like a torn meniscus, and I got surgery to debride my meniscus. And then afterwards, it was like they tell you not to like to take it easy, not to like rush back into it. But I kind of knew like knowing my body, I was like, it doesn't hurt, so I'm gonna keep working on it. And then I was like squatting that that week afterwards, like came back to like, kind of the same movements and gaining some of that movement back because typically after surgery or any injury, your body tries to heal by creating scar tissue around whatever is injured, and by doing so, you kind of lose some like mobility and stuff in that
Oh
joint.
yeah. I tried desperately to get like the front rack mobility back, and I've been able to generally do that with about the bar to the bar plus 20 pounds on each side. But once the pressure starts like pulling that wrist, I generally can't move my hands any longer. Even if I do like a finger on it or like a thumb, I just don't have that dexterity. But I remember grabbing a bar when I first got my cast off and the splint off, and like just holding a 45-pound bar, I couldn't even do in my left hand. Like it felt like it was still being pulled and ripped. And then fast forward, 2 to 3 months, and I'm putting up over, 315 on bench again, just through like a concerted effort to really strengthen that stability,
Mm-hmm.
and strengthen some of the other muscle groups before I went like too heavy, too fast.
Yeah, that's like the biggest thing is just like being in tune with your body and kind of understanding how to work on certain movements and strengthen certain movements. And that's come with time. I feel like time and experience.
Yeah, I think what a lot of people get frustrated with too is they always find that when they get injured, it's always at the most inopportune time. Uh, you know, Dudes and dudettes training up for ranger school do something to their ankle, their knee a month out that essentially says you're not going to be able to go to school on time, or training up for selection. And it's like you have to push that off. Mine came right before I was taking command. And then when I was like getting healthy, I was like, this is still going to limit me from ever trying to go back to regiment
Mm-hmm.
or go to selection. It was just one of those, I could probably exist somewhere in the Army, but not where I want to be. That's probably the biggest problem that I've encountered with people was like trying to rationalize, does this injury prevent me from doing what I want to do? Or is it just like a small,
Bump
stepping
in the
stone
road.
to getting there?
Yeah.
And I would say if you want something like bad enough, if you truly know that your body can handle it, it's again, you learn new experiences, try something new for fitness, and then get right back into your training because you're just going to be better for it now with the mental strength that you've developed.
Yeah, that's like the kind of big thing too. It's just like I guess attitude when it comes to injuries too. Um, and another thing is like being like injured versus hurt. Right? What
Right.
is it saying? Like, if you are you hurt or are you in pain? And it's is that what the saying is?
I don't know. I feel like I always think of the saying in my head, but I can't like articulate it. Like when I watch professional soccer,
Yeah.
it's like those guys are the kings and queens of playing hurt but not being injured.
Right.
Like so, maybe it is. Yeah. Are you hurt or are you injured? Or we'll say that's the saying. That's go with it. That's the saying. Official Cronus stamp on that one.
Yeah, so that's like saying like, are you hurt? Are you injured? Like injured, like hey, like you need like surgery or something's actually damaged. Versus like hurt is like you have some, you push yourself a little too hard and you like strain something or sprain something. That'll just get better by itself. That you just need to
Yeah,
take some time.
I think everybody's like done something lifting. Like I can't remember how many times I feel like I've thrown my back out on a deadlift, on a back squat gone wrong, some weird movement where, your wrist, your hand, your shoulder hurts for a couple weeks but you'll get right back at it and probably be a little bit safer with your lifts. I think people generally that feel like doing fitness is more of a detriment than a positive are the ones that look at being hurt as being permanently injured. And
Right.
because they don't have the background, it's, a lot of it's just speaking from arrogance or ignorance, excuse me.
Yeah. Well, that too, and just using that as an excuse as to, you know,
Right.
um, but yeah, I think like it's gonna hurt if you're training for something you're gonna get not hurt, not injured, but just hurt, and that
Right.
you just need to work on all these prehab, rehab, doing yoga, mobility work, doing like like massaging, like lacrosse ball rollout, stuff like that, to really dial it in. Cause like back in, when I was like training super hard, I was doing like an hour for every, I was doing like 2 to 1 of like training to recovery work. So like every hour of training, I'd do like 30 minutes worth of recovery work. Back in like when I was running a lot, or when I was like in my prime of my CrossFit days, I was doing like a lot of recovery work because that, slowly adds up over time. The more intense you're training, the more more stress you're putting your body under, the more you need that time to recover and to let your body kind of um, like de-stress itself.
Yeah, we get that question a lot too. Like, how do I maintain lean muscle mass, my speed, and at the same time bulk? And I think it's like it's almost like I feel like intuitive, but if you don't come from a fitness background where you've gone through a lot of programming or you've trained up for one specific event, it seems like the perfect thing. Like I want to look like Chris Hemsworth, but run like the fastest dude in my company. It's like if you have 7 hours a day to devote to fitness, where you can do a good solid 2 hours of lifting, an hour of cardio, and an hour of rehab, rolling out, and then all the other hours dedicated to eating. It's like you could easily do that, but nobody has that time. So like finding that balance and really goal setting is really important because it has to be one of those if I'm training up for an Ironman, do I want to be the best Ironman athlete I can be, or do I want to just be like a mediocre one because I want to maintain my muscle mass and my general physique? I think that plays a much bigger role than really being able to say like I just want the best of every single world.
Yeah, and that's like the realistic goal expectations too, and being able to, train for a certain event. Like people ask about like ranger school, um, like I'm training for ranger school, but I also want to like be able to be strong still and like deadlift 500 pounds still. But it's like,
Yeah.
it's not really going to help you
The
at ranger
the
school.
RIs don't give a shit what you deadlift. Like you're gonna show up and they're gonna count your push-ups, you're gonna get up, you're gonna do your sit-ups, you run, you rock. Like if you can't meet those standards, you're gone. And the other thing is we get the questions a lot. I'm training up for Ranger School, I'm running a 35, 36. Like I want to get down to a 32, 33 to go. It's like, that's not necessary. Like if you're physically able to maintain the Ranger standard, and you can do that, day in, day out under stress, go to Ranger school now. Like, don't wait until you are this peak physical athlete where you're going to get a spot report because, you ran sub 32 minutes on your 5 mile or broke 2 hours on your ruck. You might just be increasing the chances you get injured before you even get an opportunity to go. Or you're going to get there and realize you didn't have to train that hard to pass the physical standards. When we recommend that individuals that want to pass that course have like a 37 or 38-minute 5 mile, that's because for the 24 hours leading up to that event, you're on your feet 90% of the time. You're somewhat stressed out because you're going through the in processing. It's all new. You're doing your sit-ups and your push-ups, and you're waiting for 2-3 hours before you start your run. And so because of that, your legs aren't fresh. And so if you can't run like a 38, 37, then, the likelihood that you pass after all that, if you're barely running 40, is the reason why we advocate for that 37, 30, 38-minute mark. But if you're running faster than that, go. Like, do not wait. Go and put your packet in, and then go get your tab, and we'll see you in 63 days.
Or you could just work on some other stuff besides running if you're already at, the
Yeah,
good enough level.
like push-ups. I think bench pressing is a pretty good indicator of general chest strength, but being able to bench press 400 pounds if you can only do 40 push-ups and not metronome and not all the way up, not all the way down, it's not what the Army tests. So, like, while doing bench is a great way to build your general strength, you're going to see individuals max that PT test that look like runners because all they do is body weight, push-ups, sit-ups, improvement. It's kind of like that field grade joke where, once you make major, the only, three things you do are push-ups, sit-ups, and run. But like, that's the mentality you have to be in if you want to be truly successful at Ranger School, where you have no doubts that you're going to pass Rap Week.
I also think that just passing the Rap Week fitness is also a little bit different from Ranger School fitness too.
Yeah, no, yeah. I mean, you want to be generally fit for the entire thing. That was one of the things that when we were drafting the Ranger School guide, it's like, all right, we want to get people to pass Rap Week comfortably, but then after that, it's just this endurance event where you just need to be really good at rucking for distances, picking up and moving with some random objects, and that's really what's going to fuel you for success for the three phases. But I don't know. If you think you can do it and you are positive that you've got what it takes, and when you're tired, you can still hit the standard, just go. Like, there's no magic number again. And if we've said 37, 30, 38, and you're like, I don't want to go until that time, like, again, we're just giving you an advice, an opinion that we've had after seeing some guys be successful and individuals not be so successful. But if you want to go, do not hesitate to drop a packet. Go get that.
Yeah, and I think it's like at a certain point you're just making excuses also.
Oh yeah, for sure. Here's a question. I got a buddy that's working in a PAO office, and one of their jobs is to go through and see tweets and Instagrams that soldiers are putting up about hot takes in the military. And one of the ones that he ran across was about fitness and to be a good leader. Do you think you have to be like physically fit to be a good leader? Do you think that's a prerequisite?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I would say they're not like mutually exclusive. Like I've seen, great leaders or great people in great shape. They're shitty leaders. But generally speaking, the best leaders are also in really good shape too, because I think that comes with being a good leader is being able to, hold yourself to a higher standard and being able to, lead your soldiers through physical fitness. I don't think they're mutually exclusive, but definitely highly correlated.
Yeah, and I think too the individuals that you're going to find that are going to say that fitness is not important to being a good leader are not going to be combat arms. It's all going to be your support, your enablers. That maybe fitness is not a big requirement to being a transportation or ordnance soldier, like it is for the infantry, FA, armor. Well, I don't even know why I said armor. They were all around in tanks. Um, but generally those combat arms that are more dismounted. But I agree with you. I think if you are physically fit, the likelihood of you being a good leader is substantially higher than your just random out of shape soldier, because there's that element of discipline that probably carries over to your actual performance and your actual job.
Yeah, and I think that's a big thing too. Just that, um, people that are willing to push themselves, are probably going to carry that discipline over.
Yeah, and there's definitely times where you're going to see people that are super physically fit that are just awful leaders, and maybe that's just an indication that they're putting way too much effort into one facet of being, a soldier, and not, balancing it well. But in general, I think fitness has been absent in a lot of the Army units, just having traveled a lot, and deployed with a couple formations. I don't think people put emphasis on fitness primarily because of these rotations to Afghanistan, Iraq, where so much of it is just sitting on a fob or driving around in vehicles on like presence patrols. I mean, even back in 2013 on my first deployment, we were 99% of the time in a vehicle.
Hmm.
I think that's been pretty bad for the Army in general, because now people think that that's the norm, that you're never going to get on the ground.
Yeah, I mean, like, it was pretty much the same thing for us when we did our first deployment. We did a lot of riding, but we also did a lot of walking too, which was kind of shitty. Walking in Afghanistan in the summertime was really shitty.
Oh, super hot. Like Panjwai, Maiwan Zari. I, I remember when we landed in Afghanistan in Kandahar before we went to Basab, the concrete was so hot it was like bouncy and you could see your imprint before we took off. And it was just like, I felt so badly. There were a couple times I felt really badly for the gunners in the extreme heat, and then in the winter when it would be like freezing cold. But then some other times it was pleasant out. But the two extremes were pretty bad. But the heat made it like unbearable sometimes walking around, and then getting over layers of rows
Mhm.
of whatever obstacle you were coming across and going through wadis, like awful, way too hot.
Yeah, I will say that I was in the best shape of my life though when I came back from Afghanistan. That's probably why I did so well at Ranger School because I came back from Afghanistan and then went to Ranger School pretty much right after that.
Yeah, I felt like I was in pretty good shape after my third deployment, because we did a lot of like elevation stuff, um, and running a lot with my platoon sergeant around Alpha. Like I felt like I could run for miles into half of the training in Afghanistan even for that 4-month deployment.
Yeah. But then I also on deployment I was like crushing my body too. I think that was a
Yeah.
great time. I was like doing 2 days, like waking up in the morning to work out before patrol,
Yep.
doing like cardio before patrols, come back from patrol, and then just lifting and just getting super joked.
Dude, I can't tell you how many times that like my when I was at Hood, we'd go out and it'd be like, all right, you're going to be gone for 18 hours. Like, okay, 18 hours. Like, we're going to have some sort of a rest cycle out there on the patrol. All right, when I hit this checkpoint, I'm taking my pre workout, like on the way back. And like on the way back, like another platoon would hit an IED and they'd be like, you guys are doing recovery. And I'm like, I just took my pre workout. Like, this is going to throw my lift off. This is so annoying. I should preface it. Nobody was injured in these IED strikes. Um, or you get back and they'd be like, hey, they want to see you up at the talk, they want to do some brief, and you're like, I'm in my PTs, I'm going to lift. And you're just like, I just want to work out. All I want to do is patrol with my guys, get big, and then just raid the DFAC after every single meal. Like, can I please just get on with my deployment? And they're like, no, like there's other stuff you got to do. We're in Afghanistan. Like, this is bullshit.
Yeah, that's bullshit. Just all you want to do is get big. I was like, deployments are the best time. I like love going on deployments because it's just like all you do is you eat, you sleep, you crush weights, and then every so often you go on and do some dumb patrols.
Heaviest I got, and in good weight, my last deployment, I got to 230, because I got there and I was like, I'm gonna have the same thing for breakfast every single day, which ended up being my meal time on reverse schedule. But I started with 6 scrambled eggs every day, a thing of a bagel, some cream cheese, like a couple pieces of bacon, and then by the time I was leaving deployment, I was getting up to like 8 to 10 scrambled eggs every night. and it was just like I could not, like, I just kept putting on mass, and it was like lean mass, and
Mm.
we had all the Metarexes, your guys would
Metric
come back and be like,
metrics.
we just got some from the talk, and like every single squad bay would have like boxes of protein. You're like, this is awesome. Like, aside from the mission, like I would volunteer for this every single day just to get like large and in charge.
Yes, especially the guys that go deploy. There are plenty of good options for eating in the defects. Same thing with stateside. There are good options for eating in the defects. You just gotta
Yeah.
have some discipline, and you aren't eating for pleasure. You're eating for results.
Yep.
As what Ronnie Coleman says. Like, what does he say? No, what is this?
I
CT.
command you to grow.
Yeah, CT Fletcher says something
Yeah, I
like,
know that.
"I don't eat for the pleasure. I eat for the results." So like, you're not
Yeah.
eating just because it tastes good. You're eating because you're eating for a certain result or a certain something you're trying to get.
Yeah, I
So
mean,
whether
your
that's
body's a machine. Like, you just got to look at it that way. The one thing though, I got to say I don't like on deployments with lifting is people get focused on the wrong. Got individuals that want to get their dead up. I think a lot of people generally can't hit above 400 pounds, and so hitting that 405 mark is a milestone. And it's a great lift, but they train deadlifts and they'll just cat back it, and they'll break themselves in half, not building up any other like core strength that they need to do that, or proper hamstring strength. So they're just RDLing it, which is, it's disgusting to watch because you're like, oh, he's dead. He's definitely dead. And they don't do cardio. And you're like, we're going to do PT tests while we're here. That's one thing people don't think happens on deployment. Like, you will do a PT test. You are going to do an RPFT, especially for guys in regiments. Like, probably a month before you head back, you're doing an RPFT, because as soon as you get back, like, we sent 2 guys straight to Ranger School, and one of them went straight through, uh, and we got him like a month before the deployment. So like, that individual, the entire time we were deployed, was reading nothing but the Ranger Handbook, doing 2-a-days outside of the missions. Like, that's what it takes. So don't neglect your cardio. Like, we say cardio is king because we mean it. Like, you're going to have to do a lot of training. If you want to try to go to selection when you get back from deployment, like if you're a lieutenant, and that's usually like this weird period between getting to a unit, training up for deployment, and then post deployment, you're going to be going to selection. So you can't think that you're going to take 9 months off from rucking. You're probably going to have to find like a mile loop on that fob, and you're going to do that over and over and over again, so that when you go to brag, you're not like dead last on these events.
discipline.
Yeah. And I don't fat shame privates. And I don't talk about selection before I go to career course. That hurt my feelings, man. I read that and I was like, it's so close to being accurate, but
It's accurate.
it's just a little off.
That's so accurate.
It's not, half and half, half and half. Like, I didn't talk about going to selection because I didn't know like what year group I was, but I didn't fat shame privates. Like, that is one thing that I was like, not their fault if they're overweight. That's their leadership's fault. I would go and shame their leadership though. And officers, like, yeah, absolutely not. I absolutely, excuse me. I was no holds bar with fat officers. Because that was just one thing. Like, no matter what your rank as an officer, like, you're looked to at some point command and lead, and that is just not the right look if you're doing the wrong thing consistently to have that kind of a physical result. So half and half. So bravo on the comment. Hurt my feelings, but I never did that to brand new soldiers.
What else do we have to talk about?
I mean, there's politics and stuff, but we're never.
Is there something about like it was fitness, recovery, to come back from injuries? What else was there?
People want to know what it's like being a platoon leader again, but like, we kind of talked what it's like being a platoon leader in general when you first get to your unit. Um, Maybe like in your downtime, we can talk a little bit about what you're doing when you're not in a red cycle, when you've got some space open on the calendar to keep your platoons fresh and motivated. We could cover that shortly.
Sure.
um, yeah, when you're not training up and you're not going to the range every other week, or you're not going to do a live fire or a sticks event, there's a ton of white space that'll sometimes open up on your calendar. And one of the things that individuals in a mech world, I think we neglected significantly was weapons maintenance, and maintenance of everything that we had in the arms room. Uh, keeping the Bradleys in the company functioning and getting out, and being able to do that kind of stuff is important. But like, you got to service your weapons, you got to service your nods. Like, if either of those go down, then you're not worth anything, because that Bradley is one fighting element in a larger collective. So weapons maintenance is huge. Medical training, like, you should be able to go through the steps to recovering an individual, and not just with basic SCEDCO, but all the hoist operations. um, Now that they're doing, like, was it donor to donor, like, get used to being able to put in a needle. Like, that's all the stuff that you shouldn't rely on your medic for. So those are two things I would say in your downtime is like a PL. If you're looking for training, that's the kind of stuff that you should really be getting on. It's impressive if your platoon's equipment is tip top whenever you go out, and even better if all those great enablers that you have within your formation, you're using them to educate rather than just as a crutch.
Yeah, so that's a good point to make about making use of your time. Because I run into the same, not the same question, but the same idea when it comes to medicine and free time in medicine. I feel like people who are very successful are very good at using free time and filling white space with beneficial or good things that they can work on or to read, because there's always something that you could be doing to make yourself better or make your unit better or what if make your fitness better or what have you. Like for medicine, it's always for me. I'm always reading or studying or doing something productive. Um, Especially like time management in the hospital. Like it's because everything is about time and being efficient. When I have some free time, I will look out and forecast out the next day or next week and try to get like cases, like read up on cases, prep like notes in the prep surgeries, prepare for surgeries, stuff like that. That just because you're not doing it that week or the next day, you should look out further than the next week or 2 weeks to see what else you could be doing to potentially make your future life easier.
What was one thing that you did differently on like a day-to-day basis in regiment, as an FSO, than you did, in the conventional army?
I would say like I was always doing something like always doing something productive. I feel like in the big army, as an FSL, like there's not much going on. If there's nothing going on, I just didn't do anything, like didn't forecast or try and do anything else. But in regiment, there was always something further out to look at or something further out to plan, and then filling that white space, during like the prep cycle, like filling some space when the platoons are at ranges, finding something to do with my guys, like whether that's call for fire simulators or driving out to like a range and then doing some like calls for fire, and just practicing and filling that dead space with some positive training.
If you were to go back and be an FSO back up at Lewis, after you did your time at Third Bat, what would be something that you would like be like, oh, I've got all this white space on the calendar. This is what you should be doing, company FSO with your time, rather than like what you were saying, where you're just sitting around going, oh, there's nothing to do.
I think as a company FSO, I think that for like big army FSO, I think you have a lot more leeway to be beneficial to your company. So like helping out with training or planning training for the company, helping out, making up training for your guys, creating like a pathway for your guys for stuff to train on, whether that's calls of fire or what have you, or getting them guys integrated back into platoons. They're all like ways that you can do to make use of your time, because you know there's nothing more detrimental I think than not doing anything.
That was always the worst, where guys would feel like they had no purpose when we would just be sitting there, and you'd go out and just talk to some of them and be like, hey, can you program in an embedder? Like if I just wanted you to do this plain text channel, would you be able to do that? And when the answer was like no, you like look over at their team leader and squad leader and be like, why are we just sitting in the hall?
Mm-hmm.
That was one of the things I disliked the most about Hood, because unlike what I saw at some other, you know, um, garrisons that had, access to this wooded area, Fort Hood, if you're on, Battalion Ave, was like, you had your battalion headquarters, the coughs, and then you had the motor pools, and then behind the motor pools was like a tank trail, and then it kind of just went off into like this weird desert kind of Texas highlands. I don't know what the official term is. I'm probably really pissing off some Texans for not knowing that. Versus if you have access to wooded area, I feel like individuals were way more motivated at those posts or places that had significant terrain to get out there and, practice different movement techniques and practice different kind of, dry fire drills, because it felt like a real environment instead of just kind of going out and just standing off in a desert trying to do it and be like play glass house. I think that was one thing that Fort Hood, no matter how many times you could try to practice and get individuals in that right state of mind, everything just kind of seemed like it was being run at a jogging pace, because you couldn't actually, unless you went out into the training area, get that real life, I'm in the woods, I'm doing this for real sensation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's like but that's like the flip side of the coin too. Is like if you have dead space, like you don't necessarily have to fill dead space too. If you guys, if it's like been like tough training cycle and you guys are at the field or in the field for like 2 weeks, and then you have a week off. It's like you don't necessarily have to fill dead space with some extra trainings to fill it.
Oh my God. Yeah, that was like eye opening when you knew you were supposed to be in like a recovery period. And at Hunter, they'd be like, all right, yeah, if you don't have anything to do after PT, like head to Tybee Island and chill. Like these are essentially like your days off, maximize them, hang out with your family. I think for that, the Ranger family time was phenomenal, because individuals could, after like really strenuous training cycles, they knew that there was going to be kind of that dedicated period where they were going to be like doing, individual level tasks. They were going to get their fitness like even more on point, train up for maybe some special schools. But all in all, individuals knew that before noon, they were going to be hanging out with their families, seeing their families, so that when we had to keep them for reverse hours or we had to keep them longer for these training events, it was like, okay, that's part of the game. Instead of, sometimes in the regular Army, I just felt like it was constantly, we have to be at 100%. We have to be like full throttle.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like, you're burning people out. And it's not like the training that we're doing was high speed. It was just like, this just seems, we're putting way too much emphasis on something that's really mundane, really dumb, and doesn't have to be to this level.
Yeah, and that's like I think what's a big difference between like I guess like soft and like big armies, that people in soft understand um like how to train, how to structure training, whereas in the army it's like there's not really a good understanding or way to conceptualize it, where there's like no, it's always on versus having some off periods. And same with like with training too, like physical training, like it can't be on, it can't be in
Right.
season year round.
Right. That was always so frustrating, and getting the recalled formations and doing doing these random tasks that you could have really gotten by with. And there was a lot of collective training that units had to do that was coming down from division. It was like, oh, you have 260 days within the year of actual training space. And of that amount of time, it was filled with 300 days worth of training requirements. And a lot of those training day requirements were filled with just PowerPoints, like random sign up sheets that had to be filled out. And you understand why people get so disenfranchised with service, because you just waste so much of their time. Instead of going out and doing some cool stuff, you just waste it. And the other thing that's really frustrating from a planner's perspective too is for all those like platoon leaders, XOs out there, staff sergeants, sergeants first class, when you want to put on a good training event, it's not like the land's always available. And so when you go to reserve land, a lot of these unit S3s are jerks, and they'll just reserve huge swaths of land and then never use them. And the unit gets in trouble if they don't go and use them. And it's like, it's literally water off the back. Like, oh, sorry, range control, we didn't mean to not occupy. Like, and now another unit that could have used that land is completely screwed. That was really frustrating when we would try to go and do some sort of platoon level event and you're just like, why can't I use this TA? Oh, this battalion's using it. They're not even in the field, but I still am not authorized to get on it. Like, that was really frustrating. It just seems like there's some really inefficient pieces, and divisions try to get better with it, but for the most part, there's no repercussions. Like, if you don't take a piece of land and utilize it for training, then like that battalion commander, like, dude, you're not getting a most qualified block. Like, you are wasting someone else's time in this brigade because
Mhm.
you just want to have all the land to yourself to send people out to do some like cav call, spur ride, kind of bullshit.
Yeah, I definitely miss train. That was like a big thing, difference training the big army versus training in regiment. Just like regiment was always very deliberate in what they wanted. Like it's like with training, like physical fitness. It's like they have deliberate goals they're trying to meet and deliberate like goals with sessions, like certain milestones that we're trying to meet. Whereas the army felt like it's more haphazard and just like, oh, we're just doing this just to do it.
Yeah, and I felt like in the again, I was always shocked by what I thought was like super high speed to what I came to learn was should have been the standard. And you look at the training that the Rangers do, and then you leave and you're like, that was relatively basic, done to like the perfect level. But there's no reason that the regular army should not be trying to replicate that exact same squad sticks, that exact same company live fire. Like, there's no reason why there shouldn't be some sort of a breach element in a company live fire that involves more than just like some weird bottle charge that you're going to throw down there, and that's the extent that you're going to use your engineers. Like, there should be like Tanglefoot, like there should be like really complex weaponry that you're going to bring in to get your guys trained on those systems, whether it's mortars, the Carl G, an AT4. And then half the time I would just see these live fire events just turn into the exact same thing. Oh, movement to contact, check. Okay, attack, check, and then respond, counterattack. Like, that's the same thing every single time in every single formation outside of regiment. It's like these people get so bored. It's no wonder that you've got a specialist to an E6 that's been in this formation for say 4 years, 5 years, and they've done the exact same thing every single year over and over again. It's like you gotta make this flavor a little bit more appetizing and challenge these soldiers because they can handle it. Like, make it complex. You'll be really shocked, but senior leaders don't want to sign off on that risk. And I think that is the biggest problem: is you have a risk adverse command sometimes that doesn't want to take on those challenges. And it's kind of apparent, I think, and when you see different formations get the brunt of some army assignments, it's like, oh, we want to send someone in, let's send the 82nd. And it's like, well, why are they sending the 82nd over everyone else? It's like we have a lot of Rangers coming from battalion that are taking battalion command there, that are taking company command there, that are doing more challenging training than guys maybe at Fort Polk or guys at Fort Hood. It's like the risk is greater, but the reward's better. I don't know. That was just frustrating.
Yeah, I can definitely see that. It was very apparent too. Granted, I never did like a bunch of big army training, but I could definitely see that mentality of, this is how we've always done it, and the leadership has just fallen to that, excuse of this is how we've always done it, and this is all we need to do to qualify.
It was nuts when I got to the three shop at Carson. We had a plan. We're doing the brigade FTX, and I got to be the primary planner for the brigade, in setting up the situation that we were going to roll into, and that was a really cool learning experience working with my three. But I took it over from another captain who was like, "Oh, this is what we did last time, so I'm just going to take the exact same thing and just put it on the map." And since we've had new commands rotate in, it'll be just as challenging. And I sat there looking at him like, yeah, the commands might have changed out, but 70% of the formation did this a year and a half ago. Why are we they're gonna see it's the exact same thing. Like, and automatically they're gonna be like, if we're not making any effort to create something challenging and new, why the hell should they put any effort forth to do any better than they did the last time? Like, that was what was really frustrating, is this world of we just replicate ConOps and we don't want to recreate the wheel, so we just use the same wheel that we generally have been using since post World War II. And I get it, like the stuff that the Rangers did when they were jumping in the 80s hasn't really changed to what we're doing now, but there's been small improvements, and that's why the Ranger Regiment is so awesome, because they're constantly evolving and pushing themselves, and I just don't see that all the time from the conventional formations. Yeah, soapbox.
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 In other words, get out of the regular army and go do something better.
Yeah, go try to be somebody. Be best, as Mrs. Trump would say. Be best.
Anything else you want to talk about?
We've got, by this time you're listening to this, you've got 9 days to get your applications in for Cronus Scholars. Get them in. We've got 3 $1,000 scholarships to give out this year to veterans that are, either just transitioned and going to school or are currently in school. So, don't hesitate to reach out if you've got questions on that process. And let us know where you are in the application development stage, so that we can, try to help you out if you need some.
Definitely apply for the scholarship. We just want to see you guys do well and be supported through all your endeavors post-military.
Hell yeah.
With that, I don't have anything else going on, and no other announcements really to talk about.
No, man.
So with that, I guess we'll catch you guys next time.
See ya.
Peace.
Peace.